Welcome to the Competitive Marketing Summit podcast series with your host, Ben Shearer. And I'm thrilled to have you with us. Don't forget to snag your spot for our incredible event from March 24th to 26th in Golden, Colorado. Spots are disappearing fast. Now, let's dive into the show. Over to you, Ben.
All right. Hello. Thank you. And thank you for joining today's video podcast from the Additive Marketing Summit. So I'm super happy to have with me today David Kalinowski, who is our day 2 keynote speaker at the summit coming up here in March. So David, welcome.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, so happy for you to be here too. I know I'm in the Midwest. I'm up in Michigan. I think you're down in Chicago area.
I'm in Chicago. Yeah. So our firm, Proactive Worldwide, is headquartered here, and same Midwest environment that you're in as well.
Yeah, so you know what it's like.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We just can't wait. We're waiting for spring to come. That's
but it hasn't been that bad though. I think the plow guy only had to do my drive twice so far this winter, so that's not too bad.
Great. Well, I appreciate you joining me on a Friday afternoon. So it's kind of casual Friday. So I love it. Didn't have to put on anything other than what I wear to the office on Friday. So that's a good thing. So let's kind of dig in. We got kind of connected, I think, early last year, springtime, I think. And the connection was made through Ben Gilad. And I appreciate that. And we talked a lot about the summit. And you really kind of jumped in and kind of like, Ben, I like the idea. How can I help? And it's really kind of, if you've seen some of my past videos and, what I've done with the conference and why I do it, it's about kind of getting the CI band back together, right? It's really about kind of, we got our group and we want to expand it. And the summit's always been about CI, but it's always been about kind of this go-to-market aspect. What do we do with that intelligence that actually, drives us to make some money, or make our employers some money, right? So what are your thoughts about that, Dave?
Yeah, again, appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be one of the keynotes at your event. I think it's going to be an exciting set of sessions and great speakers and terrific topics, and people are going to walk away and learning a lot. I have now spent a little north of 70,000 hours of my life in the competitive intelligence world. When I started, the internet didn't exist, right? So you would get your project and you would call the target organization if they were public and request their annual report, wait 2 weeks for it to show up in the mail, and flip to the back pages and see the executives and start calling. And that's what you did. There were no websites and databases and tools like we have today. And so the evolution has been pretty interesting to see and evolve. And I think you're right. I think we have to make sure that we don't lose the whole focus around strategic intelligence, but certainly a key component of that is the go-to-market piece and understanding, how do we end up creating our unique value proposition and differentiators and, win with our positioning in the marketplace. And all of that entails a better understanding of the external landscape, whether it's competitors, suppliers, customers, partners, government, whatever it might be that could affect our plan. So I think those that are in CI now or getting into CI are in at the right time because, greater than ever, I think you need to be able to get some other perspectives out there than just your own internal, biased mindset.
No, yeah, I appreciate that. I think, like everything, it's ever-changing field. It's, we're constantly looking at, providing more value and how to get that value and working with, like you said, different tools now. With obviously, the elephant in the room, right? The big AI. So there's going to be a lot of talk about that at the conference as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's definitely like any other new technology coming in. Going to be a way to enable us to become more efficient and effective at what we do. Just like when all the big search engines started, people freaked out and panicked about that, and I do think that it will have some impact on being able to make sure that we are wise in how we use it and don't get too carried away. I think over time it will evolve. Do I think it's going to take jobs? Maybe some, but done right, it ought to actually create more jobs.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I've seen it in my own industry, and I don't think it takes jobs necessarily, but it displaces other kind of skill workers, right? So
Well, I heard it might have been the CEO of NVIDIA, or I think it was somebody talking about, you won't lose your jobs to AI, but you'll lose your jobs to people who use AI.
yeah,
You won't lose business to companies with AI, but you'll lose business to companies that use AI. So like
yeah.
everything else, how do you enable it to allow you to get better?
Right, great. So yeah, that's good insight, and I think there's going to be a lot of conversations about that coming up in
Yeah.
March for sure. So you are presenting our day 2 general session keynote, and the title of that is The Sacrifice Paradox: Navigating Life's Choices and Trade-Offs.
Yeah.
Give us a little background on kind of what the premise is of your keynote, and maybe I don't know, some takeaways, or if you
Sure.
want some little teasers, or however you want to frame this up.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I'm super excited about this topic. It's a little bit different than people are used to hearing me speak on. I'm often talking about technical skills of CI or leadership elements, and certainly have done a vast amount of training. Trained well over 3,000 people across 25 different countries in the CI profession here. But this is a little twist for me. It's a little bit broader scope and a little bit more far-reaching in terms of the audience, right? And but the reality is we all have choices every day. Life is full of choices. And what I found is that, each one of the decisions that we make shapes the outcomes in unpredictable ways, really. And whether you are a teacher or a homemaker or a professional or a student or a first responder or a caregiver or a parent, right? We all make sacrifices. And I find that among the choices we make, sacrifices is the most profound. And I'm not talking about sacrificing your pet or an animal for some deity here. We're really talking about, as Stephen Covey talks about, that is giving up something good for something better. And the paradox component of that really involves the idea that we have to give up something that's important to us, but that will often lead to sometimes our greatest gains. And I think we've seen that in all aspects of our lives here. And so the book that I'm writing on the topic as well, that should be out later on this summer in 2025, has 100 stories in it, all around different situations that many of us can reflect on and understand. Are we making the sacrifices for the right reason, right? The audience here at your event, I assure you, there are people who missed birthdays and graduations and weddings and anniversaries and dinners, to be able to do something for work that had to get done.
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not, right? And vice versa. There are times when people have not taken the promotion, not relocated to a new place because it would create more money for them, perhaps, but that would have meant uplifting their family. That would have meant taking the kids out of school. That would have required moving away from friends. And was it worth it in that case? Maybe for some, yes. Maybe for others, no. So ultimately, in this session, I want people to, number one, get some real world understanding of what sacrifice really looks like.
Yeah.
Two, here are some stories. Here are some stories about sacrifices that are made, and the long and short-term consequences and long and short-term benefits associated with those. And then three is maybe getting inspired, around thinking about the professional and personal choices that we're making, and are they linking back to our values, and are they linking back to our sense of purpose? And what I have found through the couple of years I've been doing research on this topic and writing, that when you have a clear sense of purpose, and then your sacrifices make a lot more sense to make, right? So for me, I'm about making a positive difference in the lives of others. That's what my purpose is. So everything I try to do, I do with that mindset.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to share what I've learned through all my research, and to again get people to reflect on are they making the right types of choices?
Yeah, I can see even kind of reflecting back in my own career, and I've been doing this for a little bit. It's like what are the sacrifices that I've made, and I can't say achieving like 100,000 K flyer was like a huge
Yeah.
benefit from me taking that time away from my family. It's like, well, that maybe that's not a goal I wanted to achieve, but
And it varies, right? Different stages of life.
yeah,
When you're 20
yeah,
something, you don't have other responsibilities, perhaps, and you're dedicated to work. And you say, well, I want to be in the boardroom of a Fortune 500 company before I'm 40. Well, you're probably not going to get there working 40 hours a week.
yeah.
There's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But when you have a family then, and you have kids, and you have elderly parents that you need to take care of at some stage in life, that sure has a deep impact about what becomes more important and what you're willing to say, time out here on the work stuff, and I need to not miss out on creating those memories, with my family.
So before we started this podcast, I kind of ran across a couple of questions. I think you kind of hit most of those, but kind of the final one, one of them that I went over with you was around kind of, our individual sacrifices. How do they contribute to our own like company culture in a positive way, while also enhancing, our own leadership skills or our engagement and retention?
Yeah, you hit the key word, engagement, right? And what I see sometimes is talk by certain senior leaders about their values or about how important certain things are in life, but then somebody ever makes a sacrifice that takes them away from work. It's like, where are they at? Why aren't they here? This is due Monday. What do they mean they're gone for the weekend already? And it's about creating that culture in that environment where people work hard, of course, and they have certain achievements and goals, but as an organization, treating people like humans again, and realizing that while work is important, it's only one wedge in the wheel of life, right? Yeah. Social and spiritual and family are all other parts, and even time for yourself becomes critical. And so as organizations, chief people officers or people who HR or even just, leaders inside the company in any functional area, when you want to avoid that burnout and you want to make sure that there's some degree of appropriate balance there, you have to be understanding that people seek fulfillment in different ways. And sometimes in corporate culture, I see this negative stigma that gets put on people because it's the end of the day, and guess what? They actually leave to go do something else in their life.
Right. Work-life balance too, right?
Yeah. And my friend Matthew Kelly, who's written lots of different books, about 30 of them, he actually wrote a book called Off Balance, and he talks about the myth of work-life balance. Okay. And he talks more about personal and professional satisfaction, right? Because there's never balance. It's like, you're never going to get 50-50, right? But some weeks, you might not be able to make all the family events because there is a pressing deadline and that has to take priority. And, and there's other times where, the work stuff has to wait because your son or daughter only graduates once. Right. But I think the key is what I found with the culture part is having the dialogue, right? Having the communication, just like in our personal lives. If you don't have conversation with people who are going to be affected by your sacrifice, then resentment kicks in, right? So if you have a spouse and you have to take a business trip and it's overlapping with some other important family event, but there isn't an option. You need to get the deal and you need to be there to do the pitch. If you just said, I'm leaving next weekend, but didn't have any conversation about it, other than, saying I'm out of here, when you have the dialogue around why you have to do it, why it's important to do, recognizing, accepting that there's a trade-off to it, then oftentimes you get acceptance of that. May not always like it.
Yeah, right. I get it.
But it makes it a little easier to make that sacrifice then because you
I've
understand.
Been there and I've tried both ways, right? And your way works.
Yeah. But yeah, I think company culture, I think people miss that sometimes, leaders, because they're so driven understandably, whether it is driven by share or profitability or their own personal growth and their own bonus opportunity, whatever it is. But we need to pause sometimes and realize, are we having negative impact on others? So I'm actually going to share during the keynote a framework, a sacrifice framework I created that helps you to think about when you really should make that sacrifice. Are you helping others and helping yourself? Then make the sacrifice. If you're not helping others, in fact, you might hurt them, and you're not going to help yourself, then don't make the sacrifice. But most of us live in the gray zone, those in between the big issues, right? Where you have to think, it's going to help you, Ben, if I make this. It's not going to help me, right? Yeah. So I have to think about the long and short-term consequences of doing that. Or making a sacrifice, it's not going to help you, but it will help me. What's the long and short-term benefit of doing that? Instead of just the impulse in the moment.
Very good. Awesome. So this is incredible background. I think I'm so looking forward to your keynote because
Thank you.
It's just kind of sparking all these thoughts in my head. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to my career. I'm thinking of people I work with, so on and so forth. So I'm already going to share this podcast with several folks I already work with. So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the summit. So I appreciate, again, you headlining the second day. We got connected through a common denominator here, Ben Galad, who's also running a workshop on day one. So I think that's kind of how we first got connected. Kind of he came in and we were able to kind of figure out a way to make all this work. And I appreciate that. What's the response been, from you? What kind of drew you to the conference and kind of what we're doing here? I just like to
I think first and foremost was your excitement to run it and to introduce it. I know that you ran it before COVID and had a great deal of success, and it was something new and different from the traditional conferences that are out there. And I think the type of folks that attend, have a lot of great collaboration with each other. We have a lot of respect for each other. More open and transparent with the communication and dialogue and curiosity of learning from each other, right? So when you were reintroducing the event, I already, right from the beginning, saw some differentiation with it. And then obviously to have an opportunity to share my perspective on this particular topic with the audience and kind of get them inspired and pumped up for day two, I appreciated that. But those who come to, obviously, Ben's workshop, along with a couple other folks that are joining him, Jay and the individual from Clue as well, they're in for a real treat, right? I've known Ben for a long time. I've been involved in this industry, as I said, 35 years. Ben's been along a little bit longer, right? But not a whole lot of people out there who've been in this industry that long. But as you know,
we're lucky to have him for sure.
Ben brings a great set of dynamics, and he doesn't hold back in what he has to say, and that's one of his best characteristics, I think.
So I want to really thank you for your time today and your commitment to the conference and everything you've done to this point. So, with that said, I want to thank you. I think we're going rolling thunder into the event right now. So we're really excited. And I think it's a good time for you and I to have this chat. So I appreciate that again. And we're, a good way to kind of wrap up our Friday afternoon. So maybe
I'm going to very shortly do a little bit more work stuff and go grab a bourbon and get ready for the weekend. But I hope anybody that is catching this makes the investment, comes to the event. It's well worth the time and the dollars to be there. I promise you won't be disappointed.
All right. I appreciate the support again, David. And
my pleasure, Ben.
Thank you again. And we'll see you in March.
Surely. Take care. Thanks so much. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye.
That's it for this episode of the Competitive Marketing Summit video podcast. Our thanks to our guests. Ready to level up your CI game? Join Ben Gilod, Jay Nakagawa, and Clara Smith at our Day 1 Masterclass workshop on March 24th. It's going to be epic. Of course, none of this would be possible without our generous sponsors. We can't wait to see you in breathtaking Golden, Colorado this March.